St. Augustine, Florida hosts thousands of tourists every day who come to learn about the ancient city's history. The civil rights history is showcased through a walking tour and various memorial sites. The stories they share are ones of triumph and peace. Figures as notable as Martin Luther King Jr. take the stage as the star of these tales. But St. Augustine had a civil rights movement of its own before the summer of 1964. This movement was spearheaded by students of Florida Memorial College, a historically black college that was once located in St. Augustine.
I attended Florida Memorial College. I didn't graduate.
When the civil rights movement happened, or began with students at Florida Memorial, they're the ones who initiated the movement locally. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the fathers of the, oh God, here we go with the civil rights movement thing. But you can't really separate that from how the community developed or how it diminished.
Shortly after the summer of 1964, Florida Memorial College relocated to Miami for purposes unknown. Although the president of the college never publicly stated the reason for leaving St. Augustine, the timing of the move suggests a correlation with the civil rights movement.
Pre-civil rights, when St. Augustine was very segregated, mm-hmm. I never had a black instructor until I was in junior high school. I've always had nuns, which were Caucasian. Mm-hmm. I've always attended church mass mm-hmm. with Caucasians. Mm-hmm. With pre-integration, the other churches would not allow blacks to attend to worship God.
St. Augustine was never officially or legally segregated, but it was in practice. This allowed white supremacists to argue that segregation was a natural state of being rather than something to be enforced.
The thing that really got me about St. Augustine, it's diversity in living. We're neighbors, but we can't associate with each other. I had one other Caucasian friend of mine that actually grew up with me and some friends, and he finally reached that age where he had to go and distance himself from blacks.
The SCLC was pushing to finally pass the Civil Rights Bill in Congress, and so the movement became much more abstract. Martin Luther King Jr. and Andrew Young are just two notable names that St. Augustine saw, and the public largely viewed them as outsiders who were bringing unwanted and unnecessary attention to the town. The presence of famous civil rights leaders did two things to harm the local movement. It alienated those who had been involved in the local civil rights movement, asking them to choose between their town and their beliefs. It also heightened the intensity of the Ku Klux Klan presence, a presence that did not disappear when the leaders of the civil rights movement moved on from St. Augustine.
The four of us was abducted by the Klan, and they did attempt to go and lynch us. Yeah. And I'm the only surviving member now. I have been incarcerated a total of 19 times or better.
Rising racial tensions in St. Augustine made the lives of many black citizens unbearable.
When I was in school, the things that young black girls had to worry about here in St. Augustine were white men stalking us. It was terrible. We were terrorized because at night we couldn't burn the lights. We had to sleep on the floor. They were throwing hand grenades, bombing houses, setting fires, burning crosses in certain yards. So it was fearful, growing up.
That was the last place we lived at as a family before the onslaught of civil rights and the threats that we received during it that caused my whole family to move out of town.
After the multiple incidents of the summer of 1964, could St. Augustine ever again be a town where a historically black college could flourish?